think it takes a certain kind of personality to do stop motion, and not everybody is that personality to take one frame at a time.
You have to be one of the most focused individuals. You have to perseverate, meaning being willing to repeat an action over and over and over and over again. And you have to be just so doggedly focused.
Before our eyes are so keen at seeing things that are slightly off, that it's very easy to fail.
And for 20 frames per second, that means in the first frame it's going 6 inches. In the second frame it's going to go how many? It's a lot of calculations. Yeah. If you want to make it look realistic.
The question of stop motion versus computer generated imagery or any kind of other choice we might make was simply how best can we tell the story.
Both take a lot of work, but I'd say that in stop motion you have to control every single motion from one instance to the next. Basically it's frame by frame.
It takes a long time to build a stop motion set. It takes a long time and lots of hard work to shoot each frame and have it work. But at the same time, if you're designing and creating, very complicated objects in three-dimensional space, and then you have to light them, and then you have to render them, and yes, there are really fast rendering engines, but that can take a lot of time too.
The flexibility of what's possible with computer animation is more difficult with claymation. It's actually kind of a holy grail of character computer animation is the problem of how do you direct a character from a very high level and have it move in a natural way, in a plausible way, so that it looks realistic, but you can also approach that points which are right on the edge of being surrealistic.
There's always going to be a line that you won't be able to cross over between creating it and having it be real. So I think what they've become very good at is sort of seamlessly moving from one world to the other.
I think when you're doing stop motion, you really have to be observant of the object it is, whatever it is you're trying to move or animate, right? You have to know you have to have it in your head. You have to know what it's supposed to look like, then have it happen, little by little by little by little.
Sometimes in animation too, you really try to only animate start to finish in a scene, because if you're doing 30 frames a second and all of a sudden you need 120 extra frames, that could be a lot of work, a lot of time, and cost a lot of money. So when there'd be changes in the music track and all of a sudden a scene had to be extended, that could be very stressful.
Most of the tools that exist for computer animation now have not relieved us of the tedium because of all the various problems that occur with just even getting the skin to stretch the right way or clothing to behave the right way. It's not all automated. One still has to look frame by frame to make sure that everything is moving the way you want it to move. I think motion capture is really about capturing realistic performances. A good example of what motion capture can do, the keyframing can't, is if a person is just standing still, practically not moving at all, there are very subtle micro movements that are made that our eyes can pick up on very easily. That's almost impossible to keyframe correctly. I've always been interested in the intersection between art and engineering and science, and I think the problem of character animation involves all three. People tend to move very gracefully, and they rarely, even when you're having a conversation with someone, you're sort of remotely aware of someone coming toward you, and you both, even in conversation, you both naturally move gracefully to the right as the other group of people move to the left. So.
You know what? It's not about being easy. It's about how comfortable you are sort of repeating a motion. So when you're doing something stop motion, it's like, you know, you're moving something like this, shoot it, like this, shoot it, like we said 900 shots for one scene or one little clip. When you're doing computer animation, the thing sometimes with that is you can preview stuff and you can move things around and you can light it and whatever, but there is that little bit of, is it done? You know, and to finally fully render something can take time and can be expensive. So there's that little bit of, you know, I hope it looks right when we're all done. So I think it just requires a different kind of personality for each pursuit. But I will say that stop motion animators are kind of like comedians when you meet them in real life. They're kind of dark. they're kind of crazy. So they are finding ways, if it works, sometimes it's cheaper than reshooting. Or if there's another idea, or all of a sudden the dress is the wrong color, or something's happened, and they've got to use animation or retouching or special effects to make it right. So I think there's a lot of cross-pollination that you don't even realize is there.
I don't think that CG will ever replace actors. You will be seeing, in the future, you'll probably, which is already the case to some degree, you'll be seeing performances of actors that then are mapped onto artificial characters. So as we develop new techniques for facial animation, actors will be able to change their appearance, I think. But whether or not that's an advantage over seeing the real actor and all the subtlety of what's going on the real actor's face is questionable. So there'll always be a demand for seeing a real, authentic, raw performance, I think.
I think there will always be a group of people who want to work on that, and there will be an audience for it. There are some great stop motion stuff out there, so it won't go away, because it'll always be this kind of genre that people will either like to watch or like to produce.